This week on To the Contrary.
Republican Senator Susan Collins says she'll vote to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the U.S. Supreme Court. Then, after the infamous Oscars slap, we look at the impact of jokes made at the expense of Black women and how women under 30 have closed the gender pay gap in more than 20 U.S. cities.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Orbay. Welcome to the Contrary, a discussion of news and social trends from diverse perspectives. Up first, the future of the Supreme Court.
Senator Susan Collins of Maine became the first Republican to back the nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the U.S. Supreme Court. Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, one of the most conservative Democrats in the Senate, also says he will vote to confirm President Biden's pick. And with none of the Senate Democrats saying they will vote against her, her confirmation seems assured. Senator Collins says Judge Jackson, quote, possesses the experience, qualifications, and integrity to serve as an associate justice on the Supreme Court, end quote. She will be the first Black woman to sit on the highest court in the land.
Joining me today are Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, D.C. delegate, Ann Stone, Republican political consultant, Danielle Moodie, host of the podcast Woke AF Daily and co-host of Democracy-ish, and Rina Shah, political strategic advisor. So Eleanor, is this a sign that bipartisanship isn't dead yet?
I'm afraid it's not, Bonnie, because Susan Collins is a moderate Republican, and I think we could always have expected her to vote to confirm this new Supreme Court justice.
Well, is it not also that she, some people would say she owes women a lot for supporting Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation?
Perhaps so, but I think you would have found this moderate senator to be where she is in any case.
How about you, Rina? Your thoughts?
You know, Bonnie, the whataboutism in this entire, really confirmation hearing has driven me insane. I think we have failed to look at Ketanji Brown Jackson for what she is as a person and stand alone. And look, the U.S. Senate has the dynamics make it such that we have to look at each individual senator. We've just learned recently that Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who threw a hissy fit and stormed out of the confirmation hearing, he has said he will not vote for Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I think this is the problem here, is that we have to look at each senator and we have to say, well, what does this mean? But I think we can still expect, hopefully, that Senator Mitt Romney and Senator Lisa Murkowski may join, two Republicans who again may vote to confirm. But we really have lost something here. And it's just looking at this incredible judge for who she is and not comparing her to the other justices, their confirmation hearings, as well as the other people who are also in the running, such as.
I've got to get over to Danielle. Danielle, your thoughts about it. Is there prejudice, racism at work here?
I mean, the Republican Party, Bonnie, has turned itself into the white nationalist party. I mean, when we watched the confirmation hearing, the vile things that were coming out of their mouths from Ted Cruz to Lindsey Graham, I mean, it is obscene. And I think that our desire to have bipartisanship is a fallacy. Majority of people do not care. Right? A majority of people watching this right now do not care. And I would love for Democrats to be able to call out what we have seen and what we see from this Republican Party as what it is. It's not if there is racism, it's how much they can get away with.
All right. Well, what do you tell us why people should care? What's her impact going to be on the court?
I mean, the fact is that we have a 6-3 court because Mitch McConnell stole a Supreme Court seat. We have a 6-3 court. And so Ketanji Brown Jackson right now in this moment is not going to have a deep impact on the decisions that the court is going to be making. She will have a deep impact in generations to come, if we are able to get back to a court that isn't politicized, that hasn't lost, the faith of the American people. So God willing, we will see that at some time. But right now we are locked in this court.
All right, Anne, your thoughts?
Well, presenting a view to the contrary, if you ran a tape of the Kavanaugh hearing versus this one, you'd see this was not a vile hearing. But I want to get back to the question of Susan Collins, somebody who I've worked with for years, a good friend. We worked on many issues, regarding women. And I will tell you, one of the things I think really weighing on her was the fact that Brown was going to be the first and was really going to be an important role model for women across the country. And that's something important to Susan. She ran for office the first time because of Margaret Chase Smith, the impact the first woman elected from Maine, had on her as a child. And she knows the importance of role models. That is not lost on Susan.
All right. So assuming that she is confirmed, does anybody think there's any chance that she won't be for some reason?
She's going to be confirmed.
Confirmed.
She's going to be confirmed with this 50-50 Senate and the vice president being able to vote. There is no doubt that she's going to be confirmed.
But is it going to be a 51-49 vote? And we know there have been so many down the line partisan votes for Supreme Court justices in recent years. But is this going to be one of them? And what does that do to her impact?
I mean, I do think that it is going to be a very close vote. And I think that it just shows all of us how divided this country is. When you have somebody that is as overly qualified as Ketanji Brown Jackson, that Republicans voted for her many times before, but are making the decision now as Mitch McConnell to not vote for her because of the impact and the historical impact thereof, it shows us where we are.
Rina's right.
The whole card here are the retiring senators. They could cast a vote for her and get away with it.
Who would that be?
There are about 3 retiring senators.
Okay. And do we know where she's going to rule on anything? Does she have a track record? I know Senator Cruz raised the issue of, if you can call it an issue, of her giving lenient sentences to child pornography viewers. Do we know if, and that was debunked by many Democratic senators, but do we know where she's going to stand on important votes? Anne?
I think on Roe, she'll be on the side of the pro-choice folks. And again, I agree with what Rina said earlier, and that is Murkowski and Romney probably will vote for her. There might be a couple of the retiring senators that'll join, but I think Murkowski and Collins usually mirror each other, and Romney, I think, may do it.
You think Romney might?
Might, yeah.
Huh, interesting.
He's ticked off enough people in his state, it doesn't really matter if he does or not, so why not?
Romney didn't vote for her for the Court of Appeals, though.
Right.
Well, yeah, but he's gone back and forth. I mean, as former governor of Massachusetts, now senator from Utah. I mean, you can understand he's got a different support base and he has to play to those bases. All right, from the first Black female on the Supreme Court to jokes at the expense of Black women.
Everyone's talking about the infamous Oscar slap, and some are wondering, why are Black women so often the butt of jokes? Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Academy Awards after the comedian joked about Jada Pinkett Smith's alopecia or hair loss. The incident dominated social media this week, but some commentators say the fact Pinkett Smith was targeted got lost in the shuffle. They say society should reflect on why Black women may feel especially vulnerable when the topic of hair comes up. One person who addressed that directly was Representative Ayanna Pressley, Massachusetts Democrat, and a woman who also has alopecia. She initially thanked Smith for, quote, defending his wife, end quote, later clarifying that she did not endorse any kind of violence.
Let's start with Jada Pinkett Smith. What do you think, Danielle, about African-American women too frequently being the butt of jokes, and what Chris Rock made comedy out of a serious physical issue?
Yeah, so I wrote about this for Zora Magazine on Medium this week because I thought that it was incredibly important. I mean, one, the point of comedy is, in a lot of ways, when you are a skilled comedian, as I believe that Chris Rock is at times, is to be able to bring light to situations that are dark for us to be able to talk about and open up conversation. However, in his joke, which I do not think that it was, I don't think that we should be joking about people's physical disabilities, invisible or visible disabilities, which alopecia is. It is an immune compromised disease. And on top of that, Chris Rock did a documentary called Good Hair, which was about the politics of Black women's hair and the politics thereof of our appearance and the way in which this society has always treated Black women. And so for him, again, to make a joke, and I use that loosely, about Jada Pinkett Smith in a room full of her peers, right in front of the world, was absolutely ridiculous. I do not condone violence, and I do not condone the actions that Will Smith took, but I can understand how you can be with your wife and see the private struggles that the world does not see and the pain that she has gone through, which she has made public for the last 2 years, and then want to take action in that. It was the wrong action, but I can understand it. And no, I think that this opens up a conversation about what should and shouldn't be allowed to be made fun of. And I think that that is people's appearance, and I think that that is people's health and well-being.
Eleanor, your thoughts. First of all, do you feel like Black women are singled out to be the butt of jokes by comedians, by people and conversation?
I hadn't particularly noted that, but it could be the case. The fact is that the Congress has just passed a bill called the Crown Act, which acknowledges and bars discrimination on the basis of a person's hair. Now, you see on the screen two different styles that African-American women have. So the notion that it would take a bill to, in fact, get rid of this discrimination does say that it is a serious problem. So I think noting it was important.
Okay, Anne, your thoughts.
Well, if I say this, I'm probably going to get stuff thrown at me, but I'm good anyway. Back in my 20s, when I was first getting into business, because I had blonde hair, and blondes are still the butt of jokes and stereotyped as being stupid. I had to overcome, that very early on to get male clients to take me seriously. Now, I don't equate my experience at all with what Eleanor and Danielle are going through, or any Black woman, but I understand what it means to be, stereotyped and put down. And it took a lot to overcome that. So I've always stood up for blondes.
All right. So Rina, as a brown woman, what do you feel like brown women are the butt of jokes in greater percentages than other groups?
Well, I can speak to the importance of hair because I come from a culture, the East Indian culture, that really prioritizes hair, and hair has been political in the modern era, right? We remember Beyonce talking about Becky with the good hair, and I on this show have talked about my own personal experiences of being in a metropolitan area and being asked if I was selling my own hair. So I understand that hair is so many things to so many people, and I think the real problem here is that we don't don't recognize that everybody's struggle is different and that each individual is going to take a situation that refers to something that's personal to them and deal with it a different way. And that's what Will Smith did. Was it defending his wife's honor? I don't know. I really think, obviously, I agree with Danielle that violence in any form is wrong. But I do understand that when we talk about hair, it's different than so many other beauty issues. And alopecia affects, I think, over 1 million Americans in general. And it really disproportionately impacts African American women more so than white and Asian American women. So we really need to take into account other people's experiences. I was glad to see the Crown Act passed, but I think in general, here we are in a moment where I'm glad awareness is being driven, but also there is a bigger conversation to be had about cancel culture, violence when we don't like something we hear, and just the greater impact on women in the public sphere. And I welcome that.
And I wish we had time to talk about all that today, but we don't. But I do want to switch over to the famous slap and what the penalty, if any, should be for that. Danielle, do you think Will Smith should be able to keep his Oscar for playing the lead role in the movie King Richard?
Yes, I mean, let's be clear. One moment does not discount Will Smith's entire career building up to this moment of this Oscar. Like, this is not like, oh, kids got into a fight and so I'm going to remove, the trophy from from a tennis match or something like that in high school. This is an Oscar, right? That he won outright. I'm sad for him that he marred that moment, his moment, and the moment of the Williams family. But the reality is, he earned it, right? So I think that there's a larger conversation to have, as Rina said, but to take it away, no. I think that the Oscars should think about other ways that they can admonish his behavior, but that, no.
All right, Eleanor, your thoughts, because do you believe that Will Smith, if he gets away with no punishment, will that turn in the Oscars into Maury Povich, people hitting each other with chairs over the head?
I don't one should receive the death penalty for this terrible thing he did. And remember what he was doing. He was with his wife, and his wife was insulted. Many men, frankly, might have taken some action at that point. So I wouldn't give him the death penalty, but I certainly believe he should receive some penalty, and I believe he will.
All right, from jokes that aren't always funny to pay equity.
Women under 30 are closing the pay gap or outpacing their male coworkers in 22 metropolitan areas. That, according to a new Pew Research Center poll. Nationally, women under 30 who work full-time year-round earn about 93 cents on the dollar compared with similarly situated men. But women between 35 and 48 only earn 80% of what men earn. Those same 35 to 48-year-olds only made 88 cents to the dollar when they were under 30. In both the New York and Washington, D.C. metro areas, young women working full-time and year-round are earning 102% of what men in the same age group are earning. Nearly half of young women around the country are living in areas where the pay gap is closing.
Ann Stone, do you think this is great progress? Or I remember back 20 years ago seeing a study that showed female PhDs entering the workforce were making 98 cents on the dollar to male PhDs. So is this progress that now all women in some cities are making 102% of what men earn?
Well, I've been teaching women for 40 years, skills seminars to give them skills to advance. And, a lot of people we've had a lot of resources out there. Women in cities have more access to those resources as well. Younger women have more degrees than the male counterparts in that age range. So that is part of what's contributing to it. But understand these are single women. If you add in the mommy track stuff, that's where they start to lose in the pay equity arena. But, it's a lot of foundation that all of us have been out there building for a long time, teaching women that it was all right to ask for more money. In fact, it was what men make their measure of success, that we needed to start doing it too. Because so many women are like, oh, I like my job. I like my people that I work with. I don't really care about the money. Well, you better. So you're not going to get more. So teaching them negotiating skills and all the stuff that we've done for so many years is finally paying off.
All right. And do you agree, Danielle?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to Anne's point, which is a good one, which is that there is a big difference between single women and women that are married with children, or single women that have children, and the way that they are tracked. But yes, women have had to have more degrees, have had to increase their skill load just to be able to compete with men who do the bare minimum. So
Right.
The fact that there is some success that is being had right now, bravo to them.
Reminds me of the Ginger Rogers quote saying that
Yes.
women do the same stuff as men, except they do it backwards and in high heels. Is that still the case, Danielle? Are these women are educational superstars? Is it happening to all groups of women, including women of color?
I mean, I would say that quote is going to live forever, because it is absolutely the truth. And I think that when you add on other metrics, when you add on race, when you add on ethnicity, when you add on sexual orientation, gender identity, and all of these things, those numbers, that percentage begins to slip. And we need to ask ourselves as a society, why? Why can we still not pass the Equal Pay Act? Why is it that women have to double up and triple up their efforts in order to compete with men that are able to walk in with the bare minimum? And I think that, society is changing, but I mean, we're still decades away from where we should be. And it'll be 100 years before women actually make the same amount of money as men, and that be consistent regardless of marriage or not.
Rina, your thoughts?
Well, Bonnie, I made my career on the right, and one thing that's been so frustrating for years as a millennial is this rejection of the gender wage gap by the right, by and large. I mean, just writ large, they've written it off, and there's tons of data that we could have gotten into, but I encourage our viewers to go dig around and see what the right is saying still in this era. That aside, I want to bring up a personal vignette that really has really been troubling for me. A few years ago, before the pandemic set in, I was asked to join the board of a nonprofit organization that had some 7 million in assets to oversee. And I was so excited, but I was being asked by the founder and the board chair to join because I was a brown woman and because he thought I would be interested in helping with events. I've never coordinated an event in my life. And see, this is what I'm talking about. When American women go into the workplace, we do all these things that are in addition to being highly competent in the work that we've chosen to do, but we're also throwing office parties. We're also coordinating events because they're seen as things that women do. And that was disappointing to me because I've now served on X number of nonprofit boards in hopes that one day I'll get to serve on a corporate board. So there's this feeling, I think, amongst elder millennial women that I can speak for because I fit there, that one day this will all get left behind. And I was really alarmed when I came to see some stats that told me that women receive smaller annual Social Security payments than men. That's ridiculous. When we're talking about the gender wage gap, that can cost women millions when they go into retirement. And that's just not something that I've had to know and accept until I've seen the raw data. So am I upset when I hear that some Democrats are renewing the push to really shore up what's called the care economy, which I'm part of as a mother?
Okay, Eleanor, your thoughts on women making this progress. Do you believe it? Do you think it's really happening? Do you see it happening in the city you represent, Washington, D.C., because that's one of the top markets where it's supposed to be going on?
Yeah, I do notice where this is happening in cities like New York and D.C. And Los Angeles, and a lot of it is happening because of government work, because government is far more likely to pay women equal to men than places where the private sector dominates. So I would take all of this with a grain of salt. And this is only in 22 metropolitan areas. It does show increasing success, but it's younger women 30 and under. That, it seems to me, shows the changing nature of work, where work is far more mind and intellectual oriented than oriented in other ways, as has been the case before this.
Well, and let me say what I threw in before and your response, please, because there have been studies over time. It's always younger women who make just about equal pay with men. And because the prejudice, the time they take off from work, the prejudice they face, et cetera, doesn't set in until they're probably 30s, 40s. Is that not true?
Yeah, when you factor in over time, the older a woman gets, the more likely she has been in the workforce, the less money she's going to make. She's had children. We still are not providing childcare. That is one of the leading priorities in the Congress today. And until you get that kind of equality, you're not going to get anything close to equality for women in the workforce.
All right, thank you all for this great show. That's it for this edition. Let's keep talking on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit our website, pbs.org/tothecontrary. And whether you agree or think to the contrary, see you next week.
Funding for To the Contrary provided by the E. Rhodes and Leona B. Carpenter Foundation, the Park Foundation, and the Charles A. Freoff Foundation.
For a transcript or to see an online version of this episode of To the Contrary, please visit our PBS website at pbs.org/To the Contrary.
Be more PBS.